You killed it!
Eastern Bloc Airguns is back with the Priest in 25 caliber, and we're going through those early stages of a relationship where we're trying to see what each other likes. Like, I'll go into it. We're trying to figure out what our future is going to be like. Are we going to be shooting 25 grain JSBs, 34 grain JSBs, or Hades in 25 caliber? We haven't figured that out. I just got the Hades, an email from Pyramid Air saying they sent me the Hades, so I haven't tested those yet. So we've been trying to figure out these, and boy, which one it's going to be. It's been a roller coaster. First off, this video contains two separate hunts. One hunt in which I use a 25 caliber or 25 grain, and I ran into an issue, so I went to the range, re-sighted my gun in, got the trajectory, verified the trajectory of the 34 grain, and I went back out hunting for a day, and yeah, the results were not what I expected. It was my first time working with the Mach 2s, and I'm not sure if I like what I saw. Anyway, I'll show you the two hunts and two videos. You can judge for your own. We'll see what happens. But anyway, before I start those hunting videos, I just wanted to say that I remounted my scope because this gun is very unique and it has a very low scope to barrel height, and I wanted to see what the advantages are if I got that as low as possibly can. This is probably the lowest scope to barrel to rail length, so I got low scope rings on top of that so I can be just as close as I can to the barrel as possible to see what the advantages and disadvantages are. And I did notice a couple advantages and a couple disadvantages that I'll share at the end of the video. But first off, I made a lot of mistakes in the past with my older guns and mounting scopes wrong, and I wanted just to show some of the newbies where I screwed up so they don't have to deal with the same stuff as what I did for the first year or two I got into air gunning when mounting scopes. Here's the video. Alright, I'm not saying I know everything about air gunning. I'm still pretty new at this sport, but I can tell you what I've screwed up on in the past. In the past, I put this bubble level on wrong, and it wasn't completely level compared to the crosshairs. And even though I put this level, the crosshairs were slightly off, and I didn't realize that at first. And I started realizing that there's wind. Why is my pellet drifting to the left when there's no wind? It's because I didn't have everything lined up, calibrated perfectly. So this is just what works for me. I'm sure other people have better ways, but this is just for the newbies out there who need a little extra help. So first off, in order to get this bubble level right, you must get it right to the gun. And I use a Picatinny bubble level here, in which I show that the rail is level. And then I level this bubble level out. And then for good measure, I put a third bubble level on top of this scope because I can, it's a flat scope. And then fourth, I look at all these bubble levels, and then I look through the scope, and I'll show you a video of that, of me comparing the reticle to the neighbor's trim, which I know is all level, or at least I hope is level to the house, while looking at all the bubble levels. Alright, this is what I'm looking at. I have this reticle zoomed out to 6 power, and so I can see the entire reticle from top to bottom and lining it up perfectly with the trim of the house. And at the same time, I'm looking at this here of the photo of the bubble levels, making sure all three are perfectly level. And then I'm slowly tightening down every screw on the scope and doing this over and over and over again until I get everything tight and know everything's perfect. This can take up to 45 minutes. Alright, this is my first attempt at a pigeon. It's a white one at 100 yards. And there wasn't much wind, so I held on to see what would happen. And to my amazement, I was pushed like 5 or 6 minutes of angle. And immediately I began thinking that I made a mistake and should have sighted my rifle in with Mach 2s. So my next area, I went for a headshot, and the wind was in my face almost completely, and I just missed by a hair. And after I reviewed the footage of this, I was thinking I made a major mistake sighting it for 25 grainers instead of the 34 grainers. Here's some still photos of that miss. Just a hair. And I was so regretting not sighting in for Mach 2s. Anyway, I got into straight into the wind and began hitting a couple. Here's one of my kills. I think the other one I forgot to record. So this limited my area where I could shoot. I could only shoot directly in or with the wind. And I was hitting them. And then I went to a second farm, and I could not get straight into the wind, so I started nailing them, holding for about 9 or 10 minutes of angle. That one dropped a little low, but it killed it. It fell. This one actually was a hit too. It also nicked the snow and ricocheted into the bird. Both of them were dead seconds later.
You killed it!
Alright, here's the first bird ever that I shot with the Mach 2s, and I was thinking this 50 foot-pounds of energy would just keel them over just like, if not quicker, than the Hades in 22, but I was wrong. This bird and the next bird, they both didn't die. This one, I ran around the shed to grab them, and they were both still alive and flew off and died way out in the field, landed again. I'm sure they died, just not right away, and I felt horrible. I was completely confused. I thought there was something wrong with my gun, but there wasn't. They were shooting about 790, which is for the cold. It's not bad. This was an offhand shot, and this bird died quickly, but when I recovered it, I only saw one entrance, and the entrance was smaller than my 22 caliber Hades with my Lilia. I was completely confused. But anyway, I went out long range, and this is my first shot at a different farm long range. It was absolutely perfect, and I was so happy and thrilled about the shot, but as you can see further in the video, things started going downhill after this. This is the best shot of the day. I thought everything would be perfect. I didn't move. And then all of a sudden I started missing shots. Partly it was because of me and my bad holding. It was tough to shoot from a car for me. I stopped holding for wind because I didn't feel any wind at the time. And this one bird just lost a bunch of feathers but flew off. And then on the next shot, it looks like a miss, but it was actually killed the bird pretty quickly. It was a ricochet off the bottom of the silo. Here's I tried for a double, thinking that it would go through both of them, and it didn't. Here's another one. This was a kill, died pretty quickly, but it was low. See, I aim right in the center of the body. Aim a little right in the center, and it dropped 2 minutes angle low. Still killed it within 10 seconds, but it felt horrible. Here's a bad shot by me. Anyway, it dropped low and to the left from where I was aiming. I was aiming low on the left. I don't know why. Should have been aiming higher. But anyway, the bird wasn't injured. I was actually happy about that. Here's that one again. I thought for sure this would be a kill. Just lost a bunch of feathers. And I thought this would be for sure be a double, but it didn't. The Mach 2 didn't go through the bird or hit the other one. It was a little low, but I thought for sure both of them would be dead. I was wrong, and I had to try to figure out what happened. Alright, before I conclude this video, I just want to admit a lot of those misses were my fault. First, I thought the wind died down completely and I stopped holding for wind. And the wind was still there, I just didn't feel it. I was pushing it to the right or left a little bit on my Mach 2s today. And also, my rest in my truck is not adequate. I gotta have something over my window where I can hold this gun firmly and softly. I'm looking into that right now, so hopefully I'll get that fixed in the future here. But that being said, I still think there's some issues with the Mach 2s that I didn't know about that others should know. And the reason I missed some of the shots, I believe, is because I was using the Mach 2s when I probably should have been using 25 grains. First off, to explain this, what I thought of and figured out using these two types of ammo is we have to look at the trajectories. And I'm going to do it this high-speed, high-tech way. I'm going to show you a photo of the trajectories and then just look them over, let them absorb a little bit, and then we'll talk about them. All right, here, the high speed. This channel is about the content, not being fancy and high tech. All right. So anyway, as we can see on these two trajectories, I put for every minute of angle, I put the yardage. That's how I do it. Seems to work best for me. And I've noticed roughly, well, okay, for all in all, it took 4 less minutes of angle to reach 100. I believe I'm not going to be shooting either of the 25s or 34 Mach 2s past really 100. That's going to be my limit. So as you can see right off the bat, there's 4 less spots I have to worry about minute of angle with the 25s. So therefore, when I'm ranging, the yardage is less important. And I've really got to get the yardage perfect on the 34s. You think that would be easy just because you have the rangefinder with you. But I've noticed these rangefinders aren't perfect. The silos that you shoot them off are often slanted. And I notice on mine, in order to get the very top range, I have to actually aim above the tip of the silo to get to where the pigeon is. So if I'm off by 1 or 2 yards, that can translate in big distance, you know? And if you don't have your rangefinder, you're guessing, you're not going to have a chance with the Mach 2s, really. So, and another thing is the weights of the pellets. I've just noticed. I went out the next day after I shot this, went to the range just to figure out. And I weighed about 40 or 50 of these, and I took 6 pellets and shot a group that's, I think 68 yards, exact same yardage as what I was shooting off the silos. Exact same, of 68 yards, I believe. And I took 2 of the lightest pellets, 2 of the medium pellets, and 2 of the heaviest pellets in the tin that I could find out of the 50 I weighed. And I took my time, got a perfect rest, and shot a 6-shot group. And you can see with these Mach 2s, there's a lot of vertical. I mean, straight on. There was no wind this day, by the way. Everything was pretty much straight up and down. The 2 of the heavy ones I put in the magazine first. No, well, they shot first. I put in last. 2 of the medium ones here. The light ones were here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6. And as you can see, at this distance, if I'm aiming here in the center of the chest of a pigeon, and I hit here with the heavy one out of the 10, it's going to be one of those shots where it doesn't drop completely and die right at the spot. Its guts are going to come out, it's going to fly, and then blood loss, and then it'll die. I don't want that. So what I've noticed compared to them, when you go in long range with the Mach 2s, the deviation, if you don't weigh these pellets, the deviation of the vertical dispersion, how you want to say it, is more than with the 25s. The 25s, it's a flatter trajectory, and it translates, if you get a heavy pellet to the light pellet, the time is going to be different. Like, it'll get there 16 milliseconds faster or quicker, depending on the way of the pellet, or whatever. That's just a number I threw out. But anyway, you get the point. And then if you shoot the Mach 2s and there's like a 1 grain deviation in the weight, at long distance, that's going to translate into vertical up and down shots. So if you use the Mach 2s, I highly recommend weighting them, getting every weight perfectly, because even at 68 yards, that's going to come to, I don't know, an inch, possibly an inch or 3/4 of an inch of difference, which is going to give you the pigeon a non-pleasant death, or however we call it, a death that's gorier and painfuler. It's going to have 10 seconds of pain before it dies. I don't want that, and nobody else wants that. So I'm going to be picking 25s for this gun, and I'm worried more about the wind and less about the trajectory. You know, this whole conversation is kind of like similar to why in Britain the 177 has became more of the go-to caliber for them, because they have a 12 foot-pound limit, and those shooters that are competition shooters would rather be dealing with the wind more than the wind and the trajectory. So they shoot 177 instead of 22 because of the flatter trajectory. Same with this, it's just with a lot more power, same caliber. So it seems to me that the 25s would, for hunting where different ranges are used, are going to be the one. That's what I'm going to be using. And the 34s, if this gun is very accurate, and it could be a gun that goes into competition where I know every shot's going to be either 75 or 100, and I'm going to be weighing these pellets, I'm going to be using these. But that's only going to be for non-hunting. And that's the other thing. The first 2 shots with the Mach 2s at close range in that barn, especially in the cold weather and how heavy they are, they travel a lot slower, and that speed does matter. The impact, the quick speed, that slow pellet was not making the wound channels as I expected. I mean, it's 50 foot-pounds, but the hole in that pigeon did not look like anything like it was a 25. My 22 with Hades just ripped open a hole like 5 times bigger than those, and didn't even go through the pigeon. It's crazy. I couldn't believe it. So everybody talks about these Mach 2s. I too thought they were going to be great for hunting. I finally had a gun that can shoot them at the appropriate speeds. But there's a double-edged sword with having that heavy of a projectile shooting that slowly, and not slow, but at 820, 830 is what they're kind of designed for. So all in all, and then we'll get to the scope. So this scope, like I put as the lowest scope, I'll get to that. I've shot with it a few times now, and the big advantages are that if you're shooting through branches, your sight picture is closer to your barrel, so therefore you're less likely to hit branches. Many times where I was shooting at a tree, since I had this gun, and I wanted to check to see if it hit a branch, and often with my Lelia, it would hit a branch when I looked down the barrel. And this one, it seemed much more often that I would clear branches. And another thing is the cant. The cant is less magnified. When you have I can see that clearly. When you have a scope so close to the barrel, if you don't get the bubble level right one shot, it's less magnified. And I can see this when I think about shooting my Adamant long range. Now this gun has a high scope mount, so I got low rings. This thing, the distance from the barrel to here is much more, maybe like if you get high scope rings, it's going to be like 4 times higher. And I can see when I was shooting this one long range, if I got the cant a little bit wrong, that round would go like, move like that. So if you shoot it and you got a cant a little bit wrong with the scope that high, the round's going to go over, up, and then come back over much quicker. So I think that concludes the video. I know this Mach 2 or 25 grain, 25 caliber Mach. Alright, I understand that this story has already been told for the most part on other channels, but I'm not going to chase the newest thing and try to put... I'm going to do what I'm currently doing and then film it. I'm not going to be chasing every fad and trying to write reviews quicker than everybody else. I don't care if I'm 3 years late on this. But anyway, so in conclusion, this gun so far is going to go with the 25s, but that might all change. It's probably actually going to change when I get my Hades. So I'm going to compare this 25 with the 26 grain Hades and just see what happens here with this gun, the Priest. So keep in tune. Oh yeah, and the other thing is, the only disadvantage so far with this really low scope mount is shooting up. I tend to have more issues finding my sight because I press my face down. That's the only disadvantage. So I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe if you want. If you don't, that's cool. I don't care.